Today I want to talk for a little while about ground goop as a ground cover and an approach to scenery. Ground goop was first popularized by Lou Sassi. And here are the ingredients for ground goop. Celluclay, which is a paper mache material that you can get at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. Vermiculite, which is used in gardening and you can get at a garden center. Latex paint of your favorite earth color. White glue, and I use Elmer's white glue. And then if you're going to keep your ground goop in for any extended period of time before you apply it, you should add a little jigger full of Lysol concentrate. You can see that the ratios of ingredients are 1 cup of celluclay, an equal amount of vermiculite, and a cup of the paint, and then just half a cup of the glue, and then a capful or a jiggerful of the Lysol concentrate. Now normally I'll make at least a double batch while I'm at it. So 2 cups of celluclay, 2 cups of vermiculite, 2 cups of paint, a cup of white glue, and that jigger of Lysol concentrate. Now in another video shortly I'll show some of the real benefits of ground goop when used for scenery and how to apply it. But let's just talk about a few right now, and then I want to show you something that I just think is quite amazing actually. As far as uses are concerned, if you look on this embankment, this is ground goop, and it's quite sturdy. You can hit against it while you're cleaning your track and so forth. It's not going to chip, and if it did, it's the earth color all the way through. If you compare that to an area where I used plaster, and I'm going to be going over it with ground goop in the next few days. But here you can see that same embankment and the plaster, and then when I was cleaning the track and working on the layout, I nicked it and you see the white showing through. And that was kind of a constant problem I was having, and one of the reasons why I really did switch over to ground goop for many applications. I still use plaster, but any place where it's going to be subject to bumping, I use ground goop. Very good on vertical surfaces. The whole mountainside up here is ground goop covered with foam, but this is all ground goop. It dries hard as a rock, actually. Now the thing I wanted to show you, and the reason I'm making this video today, this is how I keep my ground goop after I've mixed it. I get a decent Tupperware, or in this case Rubbermaid, airtight container, and then inside, with whatever goop I have left, I cover it with saran wrap, and I pat it right down on top of the goop, try to keep the air out as much as I can. Now here's what I wanted to share with you, and it's another attribute of ground goop that I think is really a good selling point for it, and that's how long it will last if you store it this way. I can tell you this, I did not mark down the exact date that I made this batch, but I have kept this little bit aside for well over 5 years now. And when I opened it yesterday, I could still put my thumb into it. It was a little bit dried out, but it wasn't solid like a rock, so I knew I could bring it back to life by just mixing in a little bit of water. And you can see that it is still as pliable as when I made it well over 5 years ago. I always keep a container like this around for little scenery jobs I'm doing, and I also use it, believe it or not, when I'm making coal loads on my hopper cars. I'll put a piece of blue foam down into the car. That gives me a flat surface, and then I will make the mounds of coal out of ground goop and then cover it with modeling coal, and it gives you that nice humped look to your coal loads. So this, by just adding some water and mixing it yesterday after I opened it, you can see it's every bit as good as it was the day I made it. The way to apply ground goop is with a palette knife, and you just take some and you put it on your surface and smooth it out, or make ridges in it as I did on the mountainside and so forth. But when you know the short working time for plaster, and then you see how long you have to work with this before it dries up. And it will dry hard overnight, but once it's layered thin and put out in the air. But you can keep it like this literally for years. And that's why I always add the Lysol, so that no mold or anything grows on it. All right, in the next installment on ground goop, I think I'll show you how I mix a fresh batch so you can see all the ingredients. And then we'll talk about different applications for it.